All right, they're yelling at me to get started, so we probably ought to get started. What do you guys think? Yeah, well, nobody else wants to get started, so we're not going to go. All right, here's the most important thing. We got to try and get out of this meeting tonight way before 9 o'clock because Handel's Ice Cream is doing 3 scoops for $3 tonight, and everybody wants to get out there for that.
What?
I move we adjourn.
They do it every Monday through Wednesday.
Wow. 3 scoops for $3?
Yes.
That's
They
it?
have a flavor of the week.
Oh, you have to do their flavor of the week.
Yes.
It's ice cream.
It's gonna, yeah, but it's gonna be like
No, it's
black licorice.
It could. All right, well, let's go ahead and let's say we're going to get this thing started, and it's 6:30 on a beautiful Wednesday night. How's the weather today? Anybody enjoy that? Yeah, I wouldn't think that you wouldn't enjoy that. And it's Wednesday, April 9th, 2025. Let the record reflect that all the council members are present, and it looks like most of the staff's here, so we're in good shape for tonight. Tonight, the invocation will be given by a newcomer. Welcome. Thank you for being here tonight. And we welcome Reverend Nina Backus, rector of St. Bartholomew's Episcopal Church in Poway. Holy moly. I didn't have trouble saying that earlier for some reason. And she has led St. Bart's for nearly 2 years, offering her congregation warmth, insight, and heartfelt leadership. It's located at 16275 Pomerado Road. St. Bartholomew's has served the Poway community for over 60 years. The church story began on May 24, 1959. And that's not even as old as I am. That's terrible. Holy moly. I'm older than that. When a small group gathered in a Poway home to consider starting a new church. Their vision became a reality in 1960 when they founded St. Bartholomew's as an Episcopal mission. The first service was held on February 28, 1960 in the old Poway News Building, now the Hamburger Factory. With 30 people in attendance and Reverend Charles Condor officiating. By 1961, the church called its first vicar and moved into 2 rented storefronts in Old Poway. A humorous sign from the era read, "Liquor, antiques, the Episcopal Church welcomes you." In 1968, a generous donation of 5 acres in North Poway allowed further growth. The first service on that land was held in the old parish hall with 222 members. On March 17, 1975, St. Bart's officially became a parish church, and by 1980, when they were incorporated in that city, the church sanctuary was completed with 601 members. Reverend Backus, a third-generation San Diegan and UC San Diego graduate, previously worked in aerospace and education before entering the ministry in Virginia. She holds degrees in Christian formation and Anglican studies from Virginia Theological Seminary. She has led ministries, taught in Episcopal schools, and participated in missions worldwide. She and her husband, Andy, live in Rancho Bernardo with their 2 cats and enjoy time with their 4 grown children. We want to thank you for being here tonight. We ask that you pray for the United States of America, the great state of California, this council, and our community of Santee. And then tonight, the invocation, the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by our city attorney. Please rise for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Almighty God, Heavenly Father, behold and visit, we pray, this country, this state, and this city of Santee and this council. Renew the mutual ties of regard that form our civic life. Ensure the safety of our citizens, public servants, and especially our first responders. At all times, Lord, please send down upon our leaders the spirit of wisdom, charity, and justice, that with steadfast purpose they may faithfully serve in their offices to promote what is best for our people. All this we ask in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready to begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, next we're going to have a little bit more fun here, and we're doing a certificate of recognition. I'm going to ask Councilmember Koval to go down and have our Nick come down also, make a presentation. And, Dave, you might want to come up here, and you can bring your family, bring all those people you want. Anybody you have assigned to taking a photograph or a video or something, they come up, stand right up in front here, and make sure that they get all of that.
My lovely daughter will take a picture.
All right. How did you have such a? I know you well enough to know that there's no way you have that shy a family. What happened?
It's funny, all of our pickleball friends, too, they look so different without their pickleball.
Well, that's what I meant by your family.
Dean, you want to come and join us up here in the front and center, please? Thank you, sir. So, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Nicholas. I'm the Director of Community Services. I want to simply start off by just talking a little bit about Dave, such an esteemed individual of this community. There is a lot of people that you will run into this world that will propose a problem to you. You'll run into a lot of these individuals over the course of your life. Whether you're in the private or the public sector, you're going to run into them. The group of individuals gets a little bit smaller when that individual proposes a problem and a solution. We're getting there. Don't worry, Dave. We're getting there. That finite group starts getting a little bit smaller when you find an individual that proposes a problem, has a solution, and comes to the table with funding. I want to just add another layer to that. The group of individuals starts becoming a little bit more finite when the individual proposes a problem, proposes a solution, proposes funding, gives funding, and also carries out an implementation plan to solve that problem. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed council, mayor, city manager, staff, this gentleman meets all those four tenets and has worked tirelessly to improve our pickleball facilities at Big Rock Park. And I think we're trying to do some other things at Woodland Vista, right, sir? So with that said, I just have a few things I want to add before I hand him over the mic, and perhaps Dean can say a few comments about him. But Dave has been the primary lead for numerous fundraising activities, including tournaments and social activities. I think he's probably hosted about close to 10 over the past 2 or 3 years. Pretty notable. He's also worked with the Santee Community Foundation, a nonprofit group dedicated to improving the Santee Parks and Recreation Program. Over 4 years, $40,000 has been raised in improvements, which include squaring the corners off at the courts, fencing off quadrants at the courts, and improved entrance gate access. Also, adjacent court improvements include entry stairs, sidewalks, DG walkways, and enhanced viewing waiting areas. Also, the project that Dave really wanted to spearhead and got the opportunity to do that with staff, a total court resurfacing project was funded in partnership with the city and completed in early 2024. With Dave's dedication and his ability to organize and activate a loyal group of volunteers, his creative and intuitive pickleball community, as well as the ideal municipal pickleball venue at Big Rock Park. Dave, thank you so much for being such an amazing member of our community. And we have our esteemed councilwoman here that's going to present you with their certificate of recognition. Round of applause, everyone.
This is quite an honor. Thank you so much. Teresa and I have lived in Santee for 35 years. We love Santee, and it keeps getting better every day, and the pickleball courts certainly add to that as well. Mr. Mayor, I have a half a page of things I was going to share.
Go ahead.
Because I thought that would meet the ice cream deadline. We wanted to thank the city council and city staff and Nick and his staff for helping us with this project. Secondly, Dean and the Santee Park and Rec Committee has been great support for us. Third, the Santee Community Foundation, which has been also a big support for us. Also, our dedicated volunteers are back there. I see a different look without the hats. They've contributed their time, their money, their expertise, their talents to helping Big Rock. Whenever I called people, I guess I was the asker in chief, because I asked people a lot, and they would always contribute to whatever they needed to do. So that was great. Luckily, this morning at 8 o'clock, I was able to be at the Big Rock pickleball course playing pickleball for 2 hours. We had about 40 out there. What the courts are beautiful. They turned out wonderful. And what a beautiful setting at Big Rock Park to sit out there in the morning. We had a great morning this morning. So lastly, I want to invite you all out to Big Rock and play sometime. We guarantee two things, and that's fun and friendship. Thank you so much.
I'll be quick. I wanted to double that asker in chief because he's asked for a lot. But going back to when I first met Dave, he came to me and asked, how did you move this forward? It was a different project here in town. And I had a meeting with him, and I said, this is what I did, and this is what I think would help you get there. And that was multiple years ago. But as far as having a champion for your sport and somebody that will get out there and get things done, this gentleman's done it through multiple years and multiple directors even. So congratulations, and I look forward to coming out and playing with you sometime.
Yeah, I've always heard that pickleball was a big deal.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
And Mr. on a serious note, come on, these guys sincerely have stepped up like no other group I've ever seen. I mean, I don't, trying to think, I think literally maybe, I'm not trying to blow smoke, but maybe Dustin Trotter was the only other one that I've ever heard that came and asked, like, oh, what can we do to make something better, and then actually did it. Right. Put their money where their mouth is, raised funds, got other people excited about it. This group, unlike any other I've ever seen, once again, other than Councilmember Trotter, did that in such a wonderful way that I hope others recognize that. And, municipalities only have so much that we can do. State funding and all that kind of stuff, and you can't give away, you can't gift community funds, you can't, we have things that we can and can't do. You guys came together in such a way with a partnership that's been incredible, and we're very blessed to have you in our community. So thank you guys very much. Appreciate that.
All right, we're going to get on with the rest of the meeting. We're going to go to the calendar. And are there any items on the consent calendar to be added, deleted, or reordered? Ron?
No.
Laura?
No.
Dustin?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you very much. No, sir.
I'll make a motion.
City Manager?
No, sir.
City Attorney?
No, sir.
Do we have any speaker slips?
No, sir.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. That takes us to non-agenda public comment. Speaker slips?
We have two speakers, Mayor, the first being Brenda Hammond.
Hi, Summer Cut. I'm going to say what I've said in every city. I want to remind you to please don't use the homeless people for political, financial, or religious gains. Not all homeless people are drug addicts, alcoholics, or even have a mental illness. And I found that purple balloon I was looking for. The aliens took it. But as far as religion goes, I want to say, speaking of religion, when I was house sitting in Santee, I walked around a lot, reminiscing about the early 80s when I lived here. I've noticed there's a lot of churches, and that's great. They're well established. I hope they were established not by pretending that all of a sudden they're interested in the history of Santee or any other city. As long as they're legit and they're not using you for any other reason, especially the homeless people. Thank you.
Thanks.
The next speaker is Carl Costantino.
Hey, Carl.
One of these days, I hope to stand up here and be complimentary. Not today. Today, I want to bring up the incredibly ineffective, inefficient, and dare I say incompetent traffic management in Santee Town Center area. My wife works on Cuyamaca across from the sheriff's station. I went to pick her up from work at 1 o'clock. This is on a Sunday afternoon. This is last Sunday afternoon. It took 4 traffic signal cycles to go 2,000 feet. Traffic was stacked up from Mission Gorge all the way south of 52. And this is on a Sunday. Okay, I've seen it just as bad on weekdays, and I'm sure during rush hour it's terrible. I try and stay away from that. Yesterday, somebody even posted about it on Facebook saying, what the heck's going on? And has received over 63 similar complaint comments. I actually challenged every one of them to come here today and speak. I don't think that's going to happen. But this is a real problem. Traffic management in Santee is the worst I've seen in San Diego Eastern County. From Mission Gorge to Prospect is less than half a mile. And yet there's 4 traffic signals. None of them talk to each other. When I take my wife to work at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, the signal at Mission Gorge and Cuyamaca cycles using the pedestrian signal. And it goes through it 2 times. There's no pedestrians. There's not even any cross traffic. 90% of the time I come to a complete stop, I look around, and I just go. And there's probably a half a dozen other signals that I do the same thing. Magnolia Cuyamaca is less than a mile, and it has 6 signals. Again, none of them synchronized, at least that I can tell. Cottonwood at Mission Gorge turns red if somebody simply turns right from Cottonwood. Riverview at Mission Gorge, the signals east and west are red, and yet Riverview is still red. There's no traffic because it's blocked off on both ends. In Riverview at Town Center, why is that signal even on? That intersection would be much better served with a 4-way stop. You hear a lot about people running red lights. I believe the number 2 reason for that is most likely bad traffic signals. I've lived in Santee for over 40 years, but I stay out of it. All my shopping dollars go to El Cajon and Lakeside. I can be at a Home Depot in El Cajon faster than I can to the one in Santee. The one exception being BNS Brewery. And yes, Mayor, they do have a distillery. With all that said, I just am wondering, is there any plans in the future to fix that? Wow, good timing.
Good timing. You know what, Marlene, can you get together with Minji and talk about all those intersections, see what's going on, maybe get us a report on why there might be so many issues down there?
Yeah, Carl, you want to write us a list and email it to? Thanks.
Okay, well, thanks.
All right. Keep in mind that Minji is the one that thought it was okay to park on corners and thought that the signal on David Ann and 67 was controlled by Caltrans. But he was happy to give me the phone number, and it's not controlled by Caltrans.
All right,
It's controlled by us.
We'll look into it. Thank you. Thanks. That was it?
Yes, sir. No further speakers.
Okay, thank you. That takes us to item number 8, which is new business. Recommendation from Salary Setting Advisory Committee regarding compensation for the mayor and city council. James?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. The Salary Setting Advisory Committee met on April 2nd. The current chair, Dean Velasco, is here to give a report on the committee's recommendation.
Great, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. We met, as James was saying, we met on April 2nd to review the compensation and benefits for the mayor and city council in order to make some recommendations. We've made some in the past, and not many of them were looked at. So this time we did a little bit more straightforward, and we came to the conclusion of increasing the mayor and council salary 5% in fiscal year 2025 and 2026, or for fiscal year 25 and 26, and 5% in 26, 27. Also, our recommendation to increase the auto allowance to $650 per month for the mayor and $550 a month per council. And no increase in technology since the last time we did a pretty big bump. That was right after COVID. So those are our recommendations. I'm here for any questions.
So you basically said that you've made some kind of recommendations in the past. We've never taken them?
Not since the committee was formed. You have not, with hours of work put into why we thought the numbers made sense with a lot of information. And I just want to say the staff did an amazing job. They have over the past 5-6 years with information. So we have information on all of our local communities, local cities that are similar to us in size. We also get to take into consideration a lot of those cities have a lot of planning and other commissions on them, which you guys don't have. So that was some of the effort and some of the thoughts we put into our previous recommendations on how much our actual council does. I mean, there's other cities that have so many other commissions that you take those things off of your plate. And so we just, we really are excited that you guys do a lot of work, and we wanted to make sure that you're compensated for it, at least equivalent to some of the other local municipalities. So.
Okay, in your research, have you found that there's a difference between, like, for instance, we're a charter law city and what we can be compensated, and a general law city which does not have a charter? Is there a difference?
Yes. Before this committee was made, we, since 1980, we followed the state recommendation for charter cities, which was 5%, and that's what it was for many years previous. This committee was formed. So.
Okay. So you're pretty much making a recommendation for the same thing as if we were a general law city then?
Yes. We're hoping that you'll take our recommendation this time, but it is in line with the state standards, and it's in line with the increase that we are thinking.
Okay. Thank you. We don't have any speaker slips. Council comments?
Sure.
Go ahead.
So it became a charter city in 2008.
Right.
But I appreciate the work that you guys do, and I understand the frustration that you feel because you guys do a lot of deciphering of information for extended periods of time, and you talk amongst yourselves and why this, the other thing. But the reality is that the city of Santee is known, at least it's known amongst us and those that are in the know, that we run lean and mean. We have the lowest per capita city employee per capita of any other city in San Diego. And we've kind of had a mantra, if you will, of it's why would we take more if we're not giving the staff more? So we've kind of got along the lines of we will do whatever we give to the staff, because for us to take, I think a previous recommendation at one point was literally like a 20% increase and 25 for the council and 25 or 30% for the mayor. And though I very much appreciate that, and it sounds wonderful, and yeah,
a lot of number one crunching went into that.
And I get that. I totally understand that, and I appreciate that. But the reality is that if we can't afford to do that for our staff, why would we do that for ourselves? In my opinion. So that's the reason that I would recommend. I'll make a recommendation that we continue with our standard policy that we've done over the last 10 years.
Sorry, I was going to. I don't want to have to lean down.
10 years or 15 years now that I've been up here, 14 that I've been up here, that we just continue to do the same thing that we do for all of our general staff.
I have one more thing before you take that motion and second it, anyone. Just to give you reference of this year, La Mesa City Council took a 90% increase because they were kind of on the same thing that we saw four years ago, going off of the original salary from the beginning and how it wasn't tracked throughout the years. So this year, the La Mesa City Council had a 90% increase on their council and staff. And when I saw that, I kind of did the math and I saw where they're at, and I figured that they probably had folks that did a lot of number crunching like we did, and so that's why we came up with just 5% this year. Sorry.
All right, no, thank you. Thank you for that. And once again, we've talked about this once when we have done increases for different departments and different things, because increases weren't kept up over time with the cost of living like it had been done in other departments. And so when you don't make any major increases over time, it becomes exacerbated when you're trying to just catch up to what the market bears. We're elected. I think it's a little bit different. Trust me, I'd love to make more money on anything that I do. But once again, for me, at this point, I think we stick with what we've done. Now, if you want to do a car allowance or something like that, that's different because of the driving that we do. That's not the same as everybody else. I understand that. But salary, which is PERS-able, so that's part of the retirement, so that goes on into perpetuity. And that's a cost to the Santee taxpayers as long as we live, and I plan on living to like 120. So, no, I don't want to burden more than any other person or employee does at any scale, if that makes sense.
Well, the good thing is that if you,
Thank you, Dean.
even if you don't live to be 120, you can get Social Security till you're 120.
About 350, I think.
Yeah,
the going age now.
Don't want to overdo it.
well, I'll second. Council
Actually,
Vice
we're
Mayor.
not going to be doing a motion or any of that. We're just going to give direction for staff tonight. If my
I mean, you know, I hate to always say it. I'm in agreement with Councilman McNally, or Vice Mayor.
Thank you, thank you.
The reality is we're here to set an example, and that's what we've been doing all along. If they're getting that amount, we're getting that amount. So we do appreciate your work. We don't disagree with you. It's just that, you know, that's the way it is we're going to get the same as the employees, and
Same family, same table.
yep.
At my table, my dad makes a lot more money than I do.
works a lot harder than you do.
I got it.
He used to. He's old now. He's old like you, Mayor.
What's so funny? I've met his dad. He's right.
Going somewhere else.
So thank you, Dean, and the salary setting committee, because I do realize, you know, it is a lot of work. And just by your brief presentation, I can tell a lot of data and research went into it. And I also sense the bit of frustration that you do all this work and then we say, poo, poo, poo. And so, you know, I think what you proposed is actually reasonable for the reasons that you stated. I don't have CalPERS here as a council member, so just to, you know, be transparent about that, because I retired from another agency, so I don't have that. That's not a consideration for me. And another point I would make is that, and I appreciate what the vice mayor said about we do what we get what the staff gets, but we don't. The staff also gets a merit increase every year if they're eligible for one, and we don't. So there is more work that's put in, and if you undervalue the council to your point of what they had to do in La Mesa, then the right sizing is a lot more of a percentage to get there. And it's not about me. We have term limits, so we're not going to be in these jobs. There's not going to be a 16-year, or well, I mean, technically, I guess maybe there could be 12, but there's not going to be, you know, a council career as long as there is right now. That's going to go away. So I'm in favor of what the salary setting committee actually proposed, looking to the future and the next council to get it on track with what the work actually involves.
So I do, again, want to thank you and the salary setting committee for putting in the hard work. Every 2 years, we ask you guys to go and do this, you know, per our regulations. And I know you put a lot of time and thought into this, like we've seen in previous presentations. as Vice Mayor said, traditionally we've always gone with the staff's, the same increase that the staff's gotten. The difference, the auto allowance, because obviously the staff, has vehicles available to them from the city, and we don't with the different meetings we have to go to. It's undeniable this council does more work than every other council in this.
Yes,
in
and
this
that's taken
county.
into consideration.
I've looked at that in the past too, with the boards and commissions and all that, and again all the committees that we all sit on serving the city of Santee here. I do think the auto allowance is a reasonable increase. I'm also in favor of whatever the staff gets. But I think it all really goes back to budget here. So once we get to June here, I guess we'll really kind of know where we're at. So it's a little premature for us to kind of give ourselves any increase to our salary if we haven't established the staff's increases, because we haven't figured out the budget for the next fiscal year of what we can afford ultimately. Like the Vice Mayor said, is that we need to look at that and make sure that we're taking care of our employees, the ones that are doing the groundwork every single day, as we're elected to obviously do these jobs. But those are the people, the ones out here, and the rest of the staff are the ones that are doing the work every single day. So we're going to make sure we try to take care of them first and foremost before us. So.
I think the most important part here is to keep in mind, it could be 5%, because we may be giving the staff 5%. Who knows? It could be any number. So I think the direction for staff should be is that as we determine what staff is going to be, getting for cost of living allowance, that would apply to us also. However, I wasn't thinking about it, but I think Councilmember Koval makes a good point. There is also a merit increase that goes with many of the employees. We don't get that. Maybe it's time that we do get a consideration for, if not the full merit type of merit increase, but maybe a portion of it even, because that also helps. Because believe it or not, these are not high-paying jobs out here that we do on the city council, and quite frankly, only the mayor, that $1 million a year that I'm still waiting for. So, so I think that's for me. I say let's see how it shakes out with the rest of the staff and where they're going with everything, and we're going to be revisiting this anyways, I'm sure, during those. Discussions about that. And of course, Heather is going to have to be the one that figures out how to pay for all this. And quite frankly, if you think about it, for 5 people, even if, just because of, I'm not the best mathematician, but if you said it was 10%, that's not a very big number even. So for just 5 people. And that's less than 1 employee actually.
I think that's less than what Nick spends on lunch every day.
That could very well be. Why are you picking on Nick?
The other thing too is we don't have staff like a lot of other places do. There's cities, I won't give any names out, but they have like 8 staff.
I will. National City has staff.
I was thinking San Diego, but I go to MTS and they bring their little notebook here and they stick it on their desk and they hand it to them. Then they open the book and then they read the questions that were written for them. And to me, I got to go, I got to make my own questions up. But the reality is when you have to, when you have all these things coming for other cities, we don't have that. We have to actually, make sure that we're following everything and making up there. So that is one thing that we do that other cities don't. Some of them don't. There are a lot of cities that are the same as we are.
Well, I think you're messing up because I got staff that does it for me. Rita writes all my questions
Oh, really?
for me.
Okay. Well, hey, we're going to have talk after the. Yeah, but those are HR questions, I think.
Does she transfer that to your?
Yes, she does, because she's cool like that.
Yeah.
She knows the notable way.
I don't know if I want an HR person.
So I think staff would like a recommendation. We're not looking for a motion, but a recommendation. And so my recommendation is that we go with whatever cost of living increase that we give the staff. But I would accept the auto allowance increase from, was it 300?
It's a $100 increase.
$100, gosh.
So-
Yeah, $100 increase, yeah.
Half a tank of gas.
Yeah.
Out of my car.
I'd like to get some direction for
Quarter of a
future.
tank.
And I'm hearing a lot of talk and trying to think creatively how to recommend future salary increases for the staff. The council and the mayor. And I think one of the things we're going to incorporate is not just the cost of living increase, but the merit increase. And maybe we can recommend something to follow that suit, like what those overall numbers are for a year for staff. And maybe we can get creative with, instead of giving a percentage, tying it to a merit and a cost of living increase, and whatever that equals, then that should be. I'm just trying to think of creative ways in the future to present this so it doesn't look like, 5% and they're getting a 3% cost of living, but they're also getting a 6% merit increase or whatever that might be. So any thoughts or recommendations on creativity? And we could talk about it later.
Yeah,
But it's,
I think that's an offline conversation.
Creative.
And
Okay.
that's going to be a salary setting group conversation. But I like your direction that you're looking at, Vice Mayor. The only thing I would like to see is that if we throw in that idea of the merit and just see what that cost is, because it may not be a big item, because we can always say no.
Cool.
So, is that a majority consensus then? Okay, I see at least 4 heads. Okay. Is that good for you?
great.
Was that as clear as mud there for you, Heather?
Yes, very, very clear like mud. My only concern is how to throw a merit increase in there, but we can look and see.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, let's see, run it up the flagpole, see if waves in the wind. Who knows?
Okay, you got
I
it.
would say, what's the average merit increase across all your employees? And then if say it's 3% on top of the COLA, and whatever that number is the average that an employee would get. And then we'll see how that falls in line with 5% to see
Gotcha.
how close we are.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council. Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely would need to see more of that, because merit increases based on 1 years of service and your job title and where you are in the band and council member or the mayor. We don't have bands for elected officials. So
We have elections. That's our merit.
but that's not a band.
No, I know, but
That's not a band of salary, though.
I'm
not
just saying
salary
the
bands.
percentage is a percentage.
10 years of service. Okay, I definitely would need to see more on that.
All right. Thank you very much. That takes us to item number 9, which is Santee Community Center project workshop and a resolution increasing the appropriation of funds, authorizing an interfund loan for the construction of Santee Community Center project, and finding the action is not a project subject to the California Environmental Quality Act. Who's doing that one?
I'm going to start it off, Mayor, and then transition some of the financial discussion to Heather. If council recalls, and some staff, it was about a month ago, we had a city council retreat, and city council gave direction to staff to come back with some recommendations on trying to get the community center moving forward. So that's what we're here tonight. Again, this is a resolution and some funding recommendations, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the history and timing and scheduling along with that to help you make a decision moving forward. Just kind of as a background, this is the latest rendition, working with the council subcommittee and staff. This is kind of the final vision for the community center. As you can see, this isn't about the community center, but it's in general. Over to the left side over here, this is the major meeting hall, a grand lobby, some offices, and this, again, has been a culmination of many years and variations through the years. It can accommodate teens, seniors, weddings, all kinds of events, more of a multi-purpose facility rather than a single type use facility as a true community center would be. A little bit of the history. Santee Community Center was originally identified in the city's general plan, and it's had various iterations in park and res master plans. And in the 90s, facilities impact fees were established to develop a funding mechanism to start construction of this. And through the years, we've been collecting funds and we've been spending money on design and things as we've moved forward. With that effort, back in 2021, City Council awarded a construction contract or a design contract with an architectural firm after an RFP process to HMC. During the initial phases of it, it was determined that, hey, there were some other things that needed to be done and including a parking lot and some modifications. So an amendment to that contract was awarded in August of 2022, and we've been in design and environmentals since that time. A little bit about the project features. The overall project or space is 12,500 over 2 stories. Again, like I mentioned, it's an event center with multi-purpose rooms to accommodate all kinds of events. We're also planning to use this as an emergency operations center backup, which includes servers, racks, generators, and the IT data center. That way we can have a little bit of backup to the city services up here. We're also trying to accommodate food trucks and parking in the service yard for different types of events. 4-tier kind of amphitheater in the back that could have outdoor entertainment. This will be fully solar PV electric, including EV charge stations. Many of those, as you know, are already required by building code. And like I mentioned before, the generator, enough that this could be used as even an evacuation center if so needed. Those kind of things were vetted out through the design process and working with the council team. Current status of the project, we are 100% done with plans. We're just doing final building department reviews. Minor comments are being corrected as we speak. The environmental studies are just about done. We're wrapping those up, and we hope to have them done by the end of April, this April. And giving staff ability and everything, we're hoping with council's authorizations tonight, we can be out to bid for construction in August. And the unfortunate thing is, as you know, with the economy and a lot of things going on, our current cost estimate is now $23.5 million. And that's what brings us to today. We were hoping to already be in construction and design, but we have a little bit of a shortfall. Here's kind of the schedule overall. July, environmental complete. August, project advertised. City Council award in November. We could start construction with this schedule in January. Construction is anticipated to be complete in August of 2027. Once we bring FF&E, bring staffing and everybody on board, work through the bugs, get the servers and everything installed, we're anticipating open to public in October of 27. With that, I'm going to turn over the funding to Heather to kind of walk you through the funding.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, and City Council members. The next thing we wanted to discuss is the funding of the community center. So the proposed funding for the project is as follows. American Rescue Plan, we spent $156,000 of that funding. The general fund contributed $1.5 million. This was allocated 2024 mid-year budget. We have a state grant of $4.5 million. And then the remainder of the project funding is in development impact fees, specifically public facilities and park and lieu. And this funding amount to complete the project budget is 23.5. For the development impact fees is $17.3 million. Our current available development impact fee funds in park and lieu and public facilities, we have about $14 million. And as I mentioned, the total budget needed is $17.3 million. So we're looking at about $3.3 million shortfall. So the reason we're here is that we need to fund the project so that we can begin construction. We can't award a construction contract without being fully funded. So the proposal tonight is that to have the general fund loan the 2 development impact fee funds, the amount needed to fund the construction of the project, which would be $3.3 million. The structure of this loan would be an interfund loan between the general fund and the development impact fees. There would be no lump sum payment or excuse me, no lump sum appropriation to the project. The funds would be drawn down as needed. We might need the whole 3.3 million, but we might not, just depending on when development impact fees come in and what the timing of the projects that fund the development impact fees are. As far as repaying the interfund loan, as soon as fees are received from development, we would repay the general fund loan. We recently did updates to the development impact fees revenue projections for the CIP budget that we will be presenting in May. So the fee, we've got new development impact fees and a new analysis on the timing of projects. So with all that information, we anticipate that we would be able to repay the general fund within 3 years. So the benefits of enabling construction to start sooner rather than later, there's definitely a cost savings. If we wait for the development impact fees so that we can fund them with those fees, we're looking at most likely 3 years down the road. We've seen the community center was in the current CIP budgeted at 21 million. And we've seen that within just 2 years, it's gone up by 2.5 million. So we're really looking for some cost savings here. And also having the community center available will be a benefit to the community. And I will send this back to Carl.
So with that, the recommendations are clear from staff. Unless council wants to provide additional recommendation, is to increase the appropriation to 23.5 in the CIP, approve the use of just over 3.3 million on an as-needed basis of the general fund reserves with the transfer, as Heather had mentioned, and authorize the repayment with that transfer to the interloan fund up to 3.3 from public facilities and park and lieu fees as they are available. With that, staff's available for questions, but just another graphic. This is a rear view facing north of the final rendering. You can kind of see the pedestrian bridge down on the bottom and some of the other facilities in the back, some outdoor seating, some balconies for seating and other events. And like I mentioned, the amphitheater over to the left by the YMCA, and back here in the back, this is kind of the service yard where we talked about we could have a rolling gate with food trucks and different event types. Again, trying to make this a very multi-function facility. With that, staff's available for any questions.
All right, we have no speaker slips. Carl, I don't remember if you were here or not, way back when we did the YMCA.
I was.
And you remember we were able to get some private funding and put somebody's name on there to help fund part of
The
that?
Cameron family, yes.
Okay. Do you think that if we were able to get somebody to throw in $3 to $5 million and we could put their name on this and that would help us to go a long ways, maybe?
I think ourself and our team, we've talked about this even with the council members as well on our committee. We've looked into different options, and I know Nick's looked into different options, and I think it's always there. I just don't know how generous the community is right now for 3.3 million, but we also looked at other things like selling bricks and different things. And I think those options can still be on the table as we move forward. And I think we'll continue to look at those kinds of options.
All right. The reason why I asked is because I just want to let you know, I talked to the city manager yesterday. I have somebody that may give us about $5 million for that. I thought it might make your job a little easier.
That would make our job very easy.
Okay.
Well, if they give us 10, that'll make it a lot easier. I'll buy a brick.
Never look a gift horse in the mouth, right?
I'll buy a brick.
So, do you have any? Okay.
So this has been obviously a very, very long time coming. We've gone through so many iterations of this over the years. And it was because of the frustration that we determined that we needed a subcommittee to help push this forward. And even with that, the prices have just escalated beyond control. It gets to the point where you're just chasing your tail at some point, and that's what's happened thus far. Every single year, things don't get cheaper. Unfortunately, things are not getting cheaper, and now we see in the next couple of years the reality that because of the fires in LA and now we talk about tariffs and things of that nature, that the chance of building in the next couple of years may take another exponential jump. And that's the reason that we're asking for this to happen now and get this going now. Otherwise, that we may be waiting for a very, very long time. The $5 million made of the Minto Community Center may not.
I was thinking more like Dan Bigford.
May not be a possibility. Even that may not bridge the gap that we have. But if we can do this, the true reality is we have projects in the books that will pay this back. So this is, and thank you, Heather, for using the terminology of a loan from the general fund. I use the terminology of seed money because that's what this is. It's seed money. We do anticipate all this coming back. We have the projects kind of in the books. We're just waiting for the stuff that needs to happen in order for developments to be able to build to come to fruition, so that their funds come into our general fund, or actually our park and lieu funds. And by the way, guys, park and lieu funds can only be used for things of this nature. They can't be used for
Roads.
For roads. They can't be used for new fire stations. They can't be used for things of that nature. They can only be used for park and rec type of stuff. And this is something that the community can utilize into perpetuity, and it will be something that'll be just a really neat thing that we've been able to put together. It'll serve purposes for our seniors, for our teens, and for the community as a whole, as a hub to do weddings, to do bar mitzvahs, to do quinceañeras, to do everything that you want to do. And the way that we've designed it is actually to allow space in between different rooms in there, will allow for multiple things to go on at the same time. We can do it will be big enough to do our Santee Awards ceremony in Santee. How great would that be? Oh my goodness gracious. It allow for its own kitchen. It allow for, as staff said, for food trucks to be able to park out there and do some events like that where you have multiple food trucks and you're doing tastings and all that. So a lot has gone into this. I mean, I can't even tell you how many electrical outlets have been thought of in this.
Steve Miller can.
Inside joke, sorry guys.
And you're probably still short.
Yeah, make sure there's one on every wall.
Oh, there's way more than that.
Yeah.
Right, Steve?
6 feet space.
Top and bottom. But like I was saying, the cost only continues to escalate, and we're concerned about the very near future and the ability to bring contractors and the like into our community. And we think we may be able to hit the sweet spot here and get this done with this seed money or loan from the general fund that will be paid back. I think I did everything. Let's see, general fund, constantly escalate. Oh, developer. Oh, that's the other thing. And by the way, developers have been paying into this since what year?
I don't know exactly. It was before my time here, so it was in the late 90s, I believe around 1998.
So there is
don't quote
also
me.
the reality is, and Sean, you maybe want to chime into this, that it could come to a point where developers start to say they're looking for money to come back. They could challenge us to get their money back because we haven't built with their funds what we said we were going to build with their funds. And if you haven't noticed, California might be a little litigious. And so if we don't do what we say we're going to do with these funds at some point, they have every right to challenge us for those funds back. So I think now is the time to make this happen. We do wholeheartely believe that even before the project is completed, that it will be fully funded in and of itself. But if, as Heather said, our finance director said, if we don't have it fully funded, we can't even put it out to bid. So we have to put this up in as a line item on a budget, not necessarily money out of the pocket of the general fund by any means, but a line item on the budget to state that it is fully funded, so that this can go out to bid. We can get responsible bids back, and we can start construction. By the time, once again, by the time it's completed, we may have no funds needed from our general fund at all. It could and very well should be fully funded with the park and lieu funds from the developers that are already in the pipeline. But we got to pull the trigger at some time, or we're going to be chasing our tail forever. So my recommendation is to accept staff recommendation and move forward. Thank you.
Was that a motion then?
I'll second it.
Yeah, that is my motion.
Okay, did you want to say?
Yes, thank you. And Vice Mayor McNellis stated everything absolutely perfectly. This is one of the committees that he and I have worked on together, and you can tell he's very passionate about this project because it's exciting, and we've waited a long time to see this happen. So once again, I agree with everything he said, and also just, I know, two total agrees on this side of the room. What's happening? But also, you know, I've had to, as a park director, borrow money to finish a project or to even do a project, and this is an interest-free loan. So, you know, we're basically borrowing from ourselves, and we don't have to pay any interest on this money. So I think that's also another benefit to doing it this way. And I want to thank Heather for bringing this up at the council retreat as an option for us to do. So I'm happy that, I was happy to second the motion.
Ron?
Yeah, I just have a couple questions. What is it, like, when you talk about the generator and the backup emergency operations center, could we back that out for the time being, or is that necessary?
I think our vision was, because we do.
I'm talking about 3 million less.
Yeah, and you know, we're not talking about millions of dollars to back that out. This was an opportunity for us to get fiber optic and everything directly connected to this as a backup facility.
Completely agree.
Not only for cybersecurity instance, but also as an evacuation center. Because right now, the only evacuation centers and things we have in Santee or cool zones is city hall or gymnasiums and school districts.
Right.
And only one building here has actually a generator for air conditioning if the power goes out. So those were a lot of considerations. Even working with the subcommittee, we came to the conclusion this is a perfect opportunity to have a backup server room and a backup system for City Hall, because right now we don't have that.
Well, I'm trying not to spend $3 million. I'm trying to spend $2.5 million like that. Is it a big amount, or is it not a big?
It's not a million. Let me bring Steve Miller up. He probably has a better handle on the funding.
There's a Ron Hall generator available to be.
The line item for the generator is looking around about $205,000 to add on to it. And the generator was located right next to where all of the electrical distribution gear was to keep costs down. Okay. And we just felt it was with the size of the building.
And again, I'm just fishing at this point. That's all I'm doing. So what was
You're fishing for minnows. And a land full of sharks, you're fishing for minnows.
Okay. All right. That's fine. Thanks.
I am too in absolute favor of moving this project forward and get done. A couple quick questions, Carl. The parking lot in front of the YMCA, when will that be done?
That's scheduled to be completed before, because we essentially need to take the entire parking lot for staging and construction. So the plan is we'll phase to build that parking lot the very first thing before we start breaking ground on the construction of the building.
So that's January 26th to start the parking lot?
That's the plan.
Roughly, okay. And then, I don't know if this goes to Sandy or you, but it references the final review by the building department. Who's doing the review of this project in the building department?
Interwest is going to be doing the final review.
Yeah, so I think that's an absolute problem. So I think we need to look at that. Who's going to review this project? Because Interwest should not be reviewing this project for the building for us. So that's my 2 cents. So there's no way that I condone them, reviewing this for us. It's going to hold this project up significantly. So we need to either find another firm or we need to do it in-house.
If I may, Councilmember Trotter, we're right near the end of their plan check. Comments have already been back. How many rounds have we been through, Steve?
So they've been doing this the whole time? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, because they have specialty inspection on things that we don't have the ability in-house, like elevators, specialized welding, certain things. The staff internal just doesn't have.
Understand. So those things, are they reviewing, or are they reviewing the whole entire project?
They're only reviewing the plans. We're internally going to be doing the inspection with the exception of a couple of special inspectors that we're going to have to hire to do those special things. Those are not going to be, those
That I
will not
agree
be
with, because that was
Interwest.
my understanding from day one here,
Yes.
that the specialized
I'm just talking
things-
about the plan checks are done. When we're talking about the building department review, that's just the plan checks to get the
Right.
plans approved.
But the inspections are going to be done in-house.
In-house and with
Okay.
some contract
That's-
staff.
That's correct.
That's a better
Yes.
answer. Thank you. I understand the two differences between the review and the inspection, but that's actually kind of where I was going, because I do understand we have gone through the process to this point, but I want to make sure they are not doing the inspections going forward, other than the specialized ones.
Yeah, internal staff will be doing all the quality control inspections for everything that special inspection can't do.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Let's please vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Hey, thank you, team, for all of that. Heather included. Thank you guys very much for all that. Nick, Carl, Sandy, thank you.
All right, here's a fun one coming up. But item number 10, which is presenting the Santee Fire Hazard Severity Zone Map as recommended by CAL FIRE for public comment, and ask City Council to receive the report and provide staff direction. Fire Chief.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council. This is mostly an informative presentation, and then we are seeking a little bit of information so we could take it back and then present this another time. Fire Marshal Aaron Merg is going to come up and deliver the presentation. I think that some really key notes before he starts is, although this says as recommended by CAL FIRE, there is a lot of things that are mandated by the state of California within this presentation. So the recommendations and our ability to say yes or no are pretty minimal, just so you're aware. Additionally, these have been talked about for quite some time, and we have some advocacy groups in the state, Cal Chiefs and the Fire Marshal Group being one of them. But with that being said, we don't have a lot of say in these maps being developed. And so it's kind of, here's your map, and this is what you have to do. And then we have a very narrow amount of options within that. And that's what Fire Marshal Merg, as a subject matter expert, will be able to help us navigate.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. Thank you very much for being here tonight and allowing me to speak on this. As Chief said, this is really a summary of the staff report that was provided, and we're presenting some options, the options that we are able to do as a local responsibility area or a municipality for these maps that are basically distributed to us by CAL FIRE. So a short introduction here. CAL FIRE published a new fire hazard severity zone map for the city of Santee on March 24th. That was about just over 2 weeks ago. This new map, they were required with recent legislation to model and map out 2 new zones. So before this, we only had the very high fire hazard severity zone, which was this red color. Now we're getting this yellow and orange colors that are moderate and high. This new map is the first update since 2009. That was CAL FIRE presented that to us, and it was later adopted in 2011. This updated map is based on improved modeling, climate data.
Excuse me, Aaron. Do you have a map that you can forward to that we're supposed to be seeing?
It'll be coming up in the
Just
next
making
slide.
sure. Thanks.
Sure. Yes, sir. So this updated map is based on new modeling, climate data, fire history. Overall, we did increase in fire hazard severity zones in the city. In the adopted 2011 map, we had just under 5,000 parcels in the very high fire hazard severity zone. And with this new one, we have just over 6,000 parcels in the very high, over 1,000 in the high, and over 500 in the moderate. And here is our new map. So on the left-hand side, that's our 2011 map. That is the map we've been working on and off of for all these years to determine, okay, if a parcel is built there or you go to build a home or a new development, there's certain requirements that apply to that red area on the left. The new map on the right the orange and the yellow, that's the high and the moderate areas that were required to be mapped for CAL FIRE. And you can see on here, we did grow in areas over in the Sky Ranch area that got added. It kind of grew around all throughout the border and then right in the middle of the city there. So these are the state minimum requirements for each zone in the moderate. There's nothing to do as of yet. They just had to merely model it, and then we have to adopt that zone on the map. There's no additional requirements you have to do if you are in the yellow or in the moderate as a homeowner or a developer. For the high, that's when California Building Code Chapter 7A kicks in. That's the exterior building construction that basically makes your home more resilient to the effects of a wildfire. That's where you get your dual pane windows, one side tempered, you get the boxed in eaves, you get finer mesh on the roof vents. And then when you go to sell your home in that area, you have to get a inspection done by the local fire department. We come and evaluate your home for defensible space. And you also have to disclose whether your home was built to that higher building code standard. And then in the high, or the very high, you have to do what's in the high as well, in addition to defensible space maintenance all throughout the year. There's some other things that have to do with CEQA, and there's also review by CAL FIRE of communities that have 30 units or more every 5 years. So these are the required actions for the city. We must make the fire hazard severity zone map available for public review and comment by April 23rd. We were given 30 days from that date that they released it that we have to make it available. We must adopt the fire hazard severity zone map by ordinance by July 22nd. We get 120 days from publication to do that. We must transmit a copy of the ordinance to the Board of Forestry, the county recorder, county assessor, county planning department within 30 days of adoption. That's a ministerial thing. And then we may increase the zones, but we may not decrease the zones. That's a pretty hard stance. So for discussion items for tonight, 3 questions we're asking and needing to get some guidance on is, does the city of Santee want to expand any of the 3 zones within the city? Because we are able to expand them, we're not able to decrease them. Number 2, how does the city of Santee want to address requirements for parcels that span multiple zones? I'll bring up some examples. And how does the city of Santee want to address the public comment requirement? And I'll go over that in a second. So the first part, while local jurisdictions cannot decrease zones, can expand them. I know I'm being replete, but that's what we have to work with. Expanding the very high fire hazard severity zone, the red. In order to do that, you need to provide substantial evidence to CAL FIRE and the Board of Forestry. CAL FIRE is kind of vague on what that is, but they said fire modeling could help. We don't have that ability to do it in-house as of now. But expanding moderate and high requires no additional evidence. We could just decree that, for instance, all of Santee is now moderate if we wanted to. So our options here are to adopt the map on the right-hand side as recommended, or to expand any of those given zones. Item 2 is what happens when a parcel shares more than one zone. So on the left, I kind of zoomed out. There's the map from a high-level view. I zoom into that circle. That gives you the middle map. It's kind of zoomed in, but you can't quite see the parcels yet. So the map on the right-hand side, the bigger one, now you can see, the map does not pay attention to where the parcel lines are. So you'll see some homes are bisected, some have, it's clear, okay, I'm in the high, but other ones, only the driveway, for instance, is in the high. And then zoomed in even more, on the left-hand side, you can see 10329 Walden, the very front of the parcel is in the high, but most of the parcel, the house and this back building, are in the very high. But the building right above it, it's kind of bisected. So do we have certain requirements for the front of the house versus the back of the house? We get into this kind of thing with zoning requirements as well. So what CAL FIRE has recommended is in your ordinance that you create, when we go to adopt the map, you could say, for instance, if your parcel shares more than 2 zones, the most severe shall apply to the entire parcel, or the least severe, or you could have a 50-50, if you're over 50%, that could apply. And then over here on the right side, that's just another example, but as we've talked about, the yellow, the moderate, has no requirements, where the orange, the high, does. And so again, you'd be, well, does the front of my house need to have, dual pane windows and the back not? The important thing to know about the maps is that CAL FIRE was mandated really to provide this public service to local cities and to do this mapping so that local cities can decide for their own selves, okay, we want to build to a higher standard, and how do we want to protect our own city? So our options here are, does the most severe apply? Does the least severe apply? And based on this decision, we could create a new map that goes in and individually colors each parcel based on the decision we decide. And then the last part, within 30 days of receiving CAL FIRE's recommendations, local jurisdictions must make the information available to the public for review and comment. They do not give a comment period. They don't say 30 days. They don't say until you receive 100 comments. They just say you need to make it available. So our options here, we've made it available tonight. Here's a comment period. But what a lot of jurisdictions are doing is creating a custom web page where you can go online, fill out your comments, and you can already download and view the map right now, but we would create a special portal that you could go to and see it on there. And that is the end of that. And so our recommendations are for the City Council to receive the Fire Marshal's report, the staff report that we provided to you, to open the public comment period, to provide staff direction, and direct city management to schedule the ordinance hearing and adoption to comply with the 120-day adoption window. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. And I tried to speed this up, Mayor, so we can get to the ice cream, but hey, I'm here for questions too.
It is what it is. Yep. Well, thanks, Aaron. We do not have any public speakers on this. Dustin.
I'll go first. So, Aaron, I'm assuming here, and please answer that, is the footage around this perimeter of each zone like a measurement, I'm assuming, by the way this is done? So go to the big map. All right.
Let's see.
Right there. So you got all the red, then you got the orange, and you got the yellow. Is this some kind of footage away from the red, like 100, 200 feet, like it looks like it kind of follows
it varies.
A border.
Yep.
It just varies.
Mm.
Okay.
Yep.
So to the discussion items, the first one you asked, does the city of Santee want to expand any of the 3 zones within the city? I mean, my answer is no. Why would we expand anything? We just go, we go with obviously what we're handed here, so to say. Second is, I'm actually asking back to you. I don't see a staff recommendation in here. So as a subject matter expert, the fire chief or yourself, I actually don't see, you're looking for direction from us. I understand that, but I don't see a
Trotter,
recommendation from you guys.
If I can interject, I gave direction to Fire Marshal Merg for us to not provide a recommendation because, and I say that because there's just so many questions out there, and we didn't want to be presumptive as far as what direction the council wanted to go. I can look through this through the lens of purely from a fire chief standpoint, and it's not popular, but I would want the entire map read because that means that I'm going to have the most fire resilient structures on the planet, right? But that's unfortunately not. I'm not the king, and we also have to balance the impact that will have on construction and the viability of projects. So we know that there's this kind of tug of war in which direction we want to go, and so apologies if you wanted that from us. That's my bad.
No, I understand, you are the fire chief, obviously, and so you guys are the subject matter experts, right? Each one of you guys are professionally, and looking at you two in this particular one here, I guess, I'm not an expert on that. I do build houses based on the building code too. So, whatever's in there. So I'm not really sure how to answer that second one. And then as far as the third one, I'm just answering these quick discussion items. As far as I'm concerned, open it up to the public comment tonight and go forward, and however we do that, if you want to do the website thing, or if you just do the public comment period or whatever that looks like, open it up and go. But I don't know how to answer that, the other part, the multiple, without more information or something.
I mean, part of it has to be just common sense. So there's looking at a map from 10,000 feet away, or there's looking at a property and seeing that we don't have, especially in these areas, especially those properties right there, they don't have indefensible space. These aren't properties that have indefensible space, but it's somebody putting a map together of Santee that's never even been to Santee before in reality. That's what's going on here. So these are not properties that are in a truly high fire severity zone. But what it does do is it either one increases or eliminates the ability, increases the cost or eliminates the ability for an individual to get insurance on a home when the time comes for them to buy or sell. And I think that is where we would be doing a disservice to our community by allowing that to go with the higher standard.
But to that argument, wouldn't developing these red areas make it, less fire prone if you're looking at the gray areas?
Wholly agree with that, but that's not the question we're being asked right now.
Exactly.
So if and when that does happen, that will change, that could and should change those zones. But what we're dealing with right now is the zone that's being presented to us. And so especially like the ones that we just saw that are half in, half out, I know those areas. Those are not properties that are completely surrounded by a jungle or have the slopes going up around them and they're coming down in their backyard and there's indefensible space. These are suburban houses with neighbors around them and like it's somebody designing a map that isn't looking at what they're actually doing and yet determining or dictating to our citizens that, okay, you made it, especially in today's world, you just can't get fire insurance anymore.
Right, that's why
you're going to pay $10,000 for something that should cost you
Yeah, and that's why I asked,
$1,500.
is it a certain footage away from the high severity? Because it almost looks like it borders the whole thing in a linear line,
So I unfortunately, I don't know if it's possible to do it, but I think this is something that, and I don't know that our chief or any chief would want to go out and physically inspect each property and say, all right, well, this is not, this one is.
So
Is there a legal
I think
opinion to this?
I think it's important to point out that Commissioner Lara, Insurance Commissioner Lara, said that the insurance companies cannot cancel or increase your fees based on this. Do I remember that correctly, or?
They can cancel anytime a renewal happens.
I could share to what CAL FIRE and the Commissioner's Office has communicated to us and the Fire Marshal's group is that this is a hazard-based map. Insurance carriers base all their coverages based off a risk map, so there's kind of a fundamental difference between the two. But mainly, insurance carriers, they have their own maps, they do their own fire modeling, and they take into many more considerations than CAL FIRE does. So if you were able to see an insurance carrier's map, the entire city might be red. And so we get calls throughout.
Hold on. So in the real estate world, there is actually a new disclosure now that goes out. It's the what is it? The fire severity hazard disclosure or something like that, and it goes by this map, not the insurance company's map. So when somebody's looking at buying a home, they're looking at this going, wait a minute, I'm in this zone, even though next door is the exact same house, the exact same standards, but they're not. So it's because a map is drawn in a way that just paints a broad brush across an area without the reality of it being something that's true in practical world sense. So I would err on the side of let's take it to the lower edge rather than taking it to the higher. And I understand your perspective of I want everything to be higher because then but then nothing in practicality ever gets done because nobody can afford it any longer.
Sean, is there a legal opinion on this?
I mean, I think we're interested in council's input, but I think as kind of you noted, Councilmember, staff's going to have to come back with a specific recommendation to you based upon the input that you're providing. And also, I think as Fire Marshal indicated, a lot of jurisdictions are struggling with this. There's a lack of information, so we're all kind of fumbling through this right now. So, in terms of, I think the ultimate result is when the ordinance is brought back to you, there'll be a more specific recommendation from staff for you to consider.
Okay.
That's fair.
Do you have anything, Ron?
Yeah, the first one, obviously we want to go at the minimum we have to. So when you get into the map there, it's can you go to the parcel side now? Okay, so when you get into the parcel side, if it's red on one side and yellow on the other, we're going to have to, you can't fix half a house. You either fix the house or you don't fix the house. My brother right now is going through a situation, his burned down in 2007. And the insurance company's coming and saying, you have to do A, B, C, D, and E to fix, otherwise we're going to non-renew you. So when they say they can't non-renew you, that's nice talk from the insurance commissioner, but the reality is they're going to do what they're going to do. And so insurance companies don't care about maps like this. They have their own maps. And when you do these kind of maps, you have to do them a minimum. So when you see these zones, they're going to be 1,000 feet from the end of that zone, probably. Used to be 500, now it's 1,000. So you just take, so it doesn't matter if it's yellow or red, it's still red as far as insurance companies look at. Again, we need to go with that part of it. It needs to be the higher code. But we don't need to make people's lives any harder than it is, and you don't need to do any more inspections than you need to, because obviously you're going to have to go out to a lot of these houses and look at them. Now, do you charge to do that?
We do not right now for the real estate disclosure process. We don't have a fee actually in the fee schedule, so there's no way to
We may not, if it becomes to that, we may have to look at that. And I don't want to encourage it, but at the same time, it's, it may come to the point where we have to look at it.
I'm sorry, Mr. Councilmember, I think the state has actually mandated that has to be provided by the municipality free of charge.
Okay, all right, that's too bad. The third one, so basically, we need to, public comment should start now at that point. So I agree with Councilman Trotter on that, so we need to. But then I also agree with the idea of, if it's red, it's red, if it's yellow, it's yellow, and if it's, and go from there at that point. So, but don't be fooled that they're not really, again, I think you said it earlier, they're looking at different maps, and these are nice and pretty, lots of colors, but the reality is they're meaningless to insurance companies. Most of them have pulled out of the state at this point.
Thank you. It reminds me of when I worked for the water district and the state was figuring out how to do water budgets, and they just did the same kind of thing. Somebody plopped down, didn't know the city, didn't know the town, and then you've got a water budget for your house, and it made no sense. And we're not talking, at least with the examples here, this is not new construction either. There are houses that already exist, and so it makes no sense to me that, if you live on one part of Via Rita, you're mostly in the yellow, and further up the street, you're mostly in the orange. It's nonsensical. So I wouldn't want to, in my opinion, punish somebody who lives, two doors down by an arbitrary map made at the state level. I mean, I know there's science behind it, but it sounds like they didn't collaborate too much with the actual people that do this work. Okay, well, I was being generous.
I think there's Google Earth and a dartboard.
There's somebody somewhere that did something, and I don't know what that was. So I would like to, it's not err on the side, but just I want to support our citizens and our community and make this as least cumbersome a process as possible. So I agree with option one, what Councilmember Trotter said. Option 2, when it comes back, give us some options, but I think my opinion on it is I don't want to be punitive in any way to somebody. And then, what was option 3 again? I already forgot.
120-day review.
Oh, yeah, today starts the public comment, but I do think it's important to have something on the website. So I think people watching this tonight might want to click on their property and see where it falls within this new map. So we could use our GIS services to help with that.
Did it?
Do you want to go to your recommendation slide? Because I do think we wanted you to take action on the, yeah. I mean, because it's, your direction is your direction and you've provided that, but there's, you're receiving the report, you're opening the public comment period today, and then you're directing staff to bring back the ordinance. So those are really the 3 action items.
All right, I think we gave staff direction by our comments.
Correct.
So with that, then I will move staff recommendation, given our direction.
Great. Thank you. Is there a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay, thanks. Please vote. Thanks for bringing us something that is not as clear as we would like it to be. Anytime you have a state mandate, it works out that way.
Motion carries unanimously.
And you're welcome for us making it even more unclear.
You're very welcome, and thank you.
All right, takes us next to a round of non-agenda public comment.
No speakers, sir.
Okay. Wow. And city council reports. Go down here, Ron.
I don't have any.
Great.
Celebrated.
Got one quick announcement. Next Thursday, the 17th, is the District 4 Town Hall right here in the council chambers. So anybody who's watching out there, hope we can pack this room like we did last year. I remember that last year was full. So really excited. This will be the 5th one doing. So it's pretty cool. Come out. See us.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, Friday, 6 p.m., Mission Realty Group, Santee Chamber of Commerce is hosting a fundraiser to help support students at Santana and West Hills High School to do scholarships for trade schools. So those that don't necessarily want to go to a 4-year college but want to learn trades, this gives them, hopefully the minimum's $1,000. That's what we did last year. And last year we got 4 scholarships for each school, so $8,000, hoping this year to either do more scholarships or a larger sum to allow these kids to go to a trade school, come out of there and learn some trades that are desperately in need of skilled workers. And, because let's face it, college is not for everybody. So I hate to see kids go to a 4-year college, come out with $60,000 to $100,000 in student debt, and still can't get a job. They can go to a trade school for a year. They're going to come out learning something, a trade that they can utilize immediately. And this helps for, 1, paying for the school, and 2, it even goes, they can use it for the tools that they'll need for the school. They can use it for uniforms or boots or whatever the heck they need. This is a really cool thing, and I just can't commend. It was actually a guy named Daniel Buxa. It was his brainchild part, but a lot of our Santee businesses have adopted this. Councilmember Trotter with his construction company has, Bob Lloyd, we a bunch of them have done that. But the reality is we need more support. We need everybody to show up. It is a fundraiser. Food and drinks will be supplied, 6 p.m. at Mission Realty Group in Santee this Friday, the 11th, I believe that is. Please show up, offer your support. Even if you can't contribute, just if you know somebody, to get the word out. Help get them there so we can do more for our kids and our community and help build a better and brighter future for the city of Santee.
Great. Did anybody forget anything?
I did forget that I'm not going to be at the next city council meeting, and so I just wanted to say it publicly so no one feels like they're violating a HIPAA policy or law, but I'm having my right ankle joint replaced on the 21st, and I'll be loopy and high as a kite for a week. So I'm not doing any business, and I'll let all of you take care of it for me. And I just wanted to say it publicly, so if people, you're okay to say that I'm.
So wait, we get to say you're doing something with a joint, and you're going to be high as a kite.
Exactly.
Is that on your left leg? Is it on your left leg?
My right. Shut up. I love you.
Some people will do anything.
I know.
There's easier ways to get out of council.
I know. That's all I could think of.
John just goes up to Sacramento or somewhere.
As a matter of fact, I won't be at the next council meeting because I will be in Sacramento and whatnot. But, when I got here tonight, there were a couple things at my desk here. And one of them was describing the Town Center Park East and some of the amenities that we have there. And we probably have some of these on the back. I'd say take a look at those because our communications department is putting this stuff out. I think it's really nice looking. A lot of this is on the website. But one of the other things that I had here was a little pamphlet flyer that discusses the homelessness working group that we have in Santee. And there's a lot of successes on this. If you don't see it, it may also be on the back. But I talked to quite a few organizations around the county about homelessness and what they're doing to try and combat that and whatnot. And when I tell them some of the things that we do here in Santee, they're going, how do you do that?
Well, I was going to say, the answers I give are a copy in Santee.
Well, for instance, over the last year, this says we posted over 121 encampments. And what that means is that we didn't just say that you can't have this encampment here, you have to get out, and we're going to take all your belongings. What we did is we did what we could to find resources for them and help those people out. So between 2022 and 2025, we helped over 207 unique individuals, and they were provided services. And there are a lot of positive outcomes. Not every single person obviously got off the street. Some of them went elsewhere because they just didn't want anybody to see them or talk to them. And but we did have 7 positive outcomes where people actually got off the street. Some people that were actually living alongside the banks or other places were found homes. And so that was a very big deal. And so we had 32 river cleanups just since 2024. And that's huge. Nobody else does that many river cleanups. And we've taken out over 122,000 pounds of trash from our riverbed. And you have to ask the question, where does it keep coming from? Well, it comes from people that are wanting to live in the river bed area. And so we have plenty of ordinances now that actually address that. And so in addressing it directly, we're actually getting some compliance. This last year's point-in-time count showed that we had a reduction of over 50% in homelessness, people living on our streets. And we actually will even bring out the Health and Human Services Center from the County of San Diego. They'll be able to get a chance to get medical attention, dental attention, eye, and a variety of things like that, including getting cleaned up and fresh clothes. So we're doing things in Santee that other places are just talking about doing. And unfortunately, I think they only talk about it because when they talk about it, they get funding. Well, we'd rather just get people off the street because then you don't need as much funding, although it's going to be something that goes on for a very long time.
Can I add to that a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank the Sheriff's Department. They do sweeps through there along with PACE, which is a group in San Diego. And I think East County Transitional still wanders through there trying to help people. So we're actually sending, I did a ride-along, I've talked about it a few times, and that's the first thing we did. We pulled over by 125 and walked through the riverbed a little bit to see, we found only one person that time, which is good news because they weren't lighting fires that night. And so the advantage is the sheriff's department actually does walk it themselves. They walk it with PACE, they walk it with East County Transitional, and they meet up with the people and post it, and with our people, they post it too. So Sam there does a fantastic job of helping clean up, so we just appreciate it.
Yeah, I wasn't going to actually go through the whole list, but you make it a great point that it's not just our city that does it. It's all of our partners. City of Santee, City Attorney's Office, Caltrans, Crisis House, Elkhorn Transitional Living Center, the San Diego River Foundation, Grossmont Healthcare District, and San Diego County District Attorney's Office, PATH, I don't remember what that acronym is for, San Diego Sheriff's Department, Regional Task Force on Homelessness, San Diego County Department of Public Works, You Did It For Me, San Diego Habitat, Helix, EPI, Turner, BHS, and there's a lot more. And you know what? Even Caltrans, you hear other cities complain about Caltrans never cleans anything up along the freeways or in their right-of-way. Well, we have a great relationship with Caltrans, and they actually come out and will clean things up for us. So that's a little more than I wanted to talk about it, but I thought it was so important that so many people keep asking questions about what we're doing with that we give a report on that.
We have meetings once a month, and they're all here. That's the nice thing about it. Everybody's here, and even Caltrans, and it's a simple phone call now. Where with some communities, it's a major thing to do.
Thanks. City Manager, any report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very quickly, for those in the community that have young children, we're coming up on the Easter holiday, so the city is going to have our annual celebration this Saturday, April the 12th at Santee Trolley Square. It runs from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock, the Bunny Trail event. Come on out. There's a lot of fun. There's booths, there's games. There's, of course, the Easter Bunny to get a picture with. And it's a wonderful activity for families, so we encourage everybody to come on out. And thanks to the Community Services Department for putting that on. So thanks. That's all I have, sir.
Great. City Attorney?
No report.
Great, thank you. That takes us to closed session. Item number 11, conference with labor negotiators. And then item 12, public employee performance evaluation. You're all welcome to stick around, but we're going to be back there talking for a little while. So thank you all, everybody for being here tonight that decided to leave.